Hello everyone, my name is Dellair Youssef and this is Revision Soziokultur podcast. One day a friend of mine sent me a link and told me to apply for this job. It looks like it fits you. I took a look and I said, okay, this looks interesting. Let's apply. I did. And then I had an interview with three nice people. I made some of my so-called stupid jokes, but thankfully they liked them and gave me the job. This job is, and I'm reading from their website, looking to commission a digital artist for a storytelling commission between April and December 2022 to create a 6-part multimedia diaries. This commission is open to artists globally. You must be bilingual, German-English. So, I have to do what they call multimedia diaries on the topic of socioculture in Germany by working with two other artists, an electronic musician, Benjamin Berry, and a comic artist, Azam Mazoumzadeh. And I have the freedom to select the multimedia form I want to profile 14 different projects. I decided to make 6 short videos, one for each part of this diary, and a podcast, which is the one we are listening to. In this podcast, I will host different projects that interact with the concept of socioculture. I wanted to understand this thing and what it means, honestly, and from the beginning. One of the main reasons that made me apply to this job was to see the world with different eyes, to get out of my comfort zone and try to talk to others, to other artists who live and work out of my circle. I would like to first know who you are and if you can please introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Mila and I'm a member of the Gruppe OXIS, which is a small club from Bonn. And now with the funding from Soziokultur, I'm the process coordinator of this group. And there's other group members, obviously. I can tell you more about the group also if you want to know.
Yeah, please tell me a bit about this group, which is like Gruppe OXIS. How did it start? Who are the people? How many people working there? What do you do?
Yeah, it's a group which was founded quite some years ago. We started it in 2014, but back then it was a kind of a student association because we all studied Latin American studies. So we wanted to do some cultural events and have a little film festival. So the first time we did it, it was more of an academic and ethnographic film festival. And then we decided that we didn't want to stay in this area and broaden the selection a bit. So from 2015 on, we did a film festival every year with all kinds of movies. So with normal movies, documentaries, experimental art movies. So it was a bit broader, and it kind of worked well, and we started to do other events as well, like other cultural events with some kind of connection to Latin America. And then we founded the club in 2017. And now nobody of us is still studying, so we all kind of started working or, I don't know, do other stuff. So it's not a student association anymore, but we're still doing this film festival, which was a bit difficult now with COVID, but this year we are hoping to do it like in the old ways. And we are about 10 people at the moment, but we're always happy to welcome new members. And sometimes members are working with us for some time and then they leave Bonn again. But more or less we are 10 people.
But you are like German students, all of you.
No, we're not studying anymore. That was back in
But if you,
2014.
back then, I mean, like you
Back
were
then
all
we were
German
all
students.
well, not all German, like all people with some connection to Latin America. Some of us were born in Germany, others are not. Some people lived in South America for some time. So all of us have kind of a connection. Yeah, but different types of connections, obviously.
Okay. And now like they're like people who come from, I don't know, from South America to work with you, right? There are some people from there.
Yes, some members, but they're all living in Bonn at the moment. But we always try to, like in the film festival, we are only showing movies from or about Latin America. So the artists we work with, they are normally from Latin America and based there also.
Your biggest project, I guess, is the film festival, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which is Mira Film Festival.
Exactly.
Why Mira? Why is the name Mira?
In Spanish, it means to look at something. So it's an imperative. And we chose the title because we want to show topics and artists who are not like in the mainstream movie scene. So it was kind of it's supposed to mean that you're as somebody coming to the film festival, you're supposed to give your attention and look at the movies and the topics and the artists, and yeah.
Okay, tell me a bit about the film festival. What kind of movies you choose? How you choose them? How many days you like run the festival?
Yeah, it has changed a bit in the last years because we're normally using an online platform which is called Film Freeway, and every artist can send movies, and then we will make a selection, but we will really like look at every single movie which is sent to us, which are a lot sometimes. It's always between 1,000 and 2,000 movies people sending for the selection. And then over the year, in the preparation of the festival, we are looking at the movies and selecting from all genres. It can be like a 1-minute short movie, it can be animated, it can be a documentary of 2 hours. So it's very broad, the scope. The only rule we have is that it has to have a connection to Latin America. And then the other rule is that we are not choosing mainstream movies. So it's an independent film festival, and we're always trying to favor student movies or movies from minorities, which come from communities that are normally not represented that much in the film business. Like we often have movies, for example, made by queer people or indigenous people. So we're always trying to select these topics that are a bit out of the scope.
And you screen them in Bonn, in
Exactly.
movies
Yes.
theater in Bonn.
It's not in a movie theater. We have been in a movie theater once, but we changed to a cultural center because there we have a bit more freedom. And it's 4 days, the festival, but we are also having discussions there. There's music, some food, and due to COVID, we had to also find some digital solutions. So in 2020, we did it online for the first time, which was a bit sad, but it was also cool because the public didn't just come from Bonn, so they were from all over Germany and Austria, and some also from other countries. So this year we'll do both. We'll have it in live for 4 days in Bonn, and then have the digital event for 2 weeks afterwards, with discussions online also.
That sounds definitely cool. You say on your website that you work on a critical look at current debates in and around
Right.
Latin America. Tell me about that. What does it mean?
Yeah, it means that we are always trying to not only show a movie and then everybody goes home, but I think all of us in the group, we think that cultural events are always kind of political, and you can have very interesting debates and discussions around all kinds of movies. So we're always trying to invite people from local initiatives to talk about the same topics that are shown in the movies, because we don't want to show a movie from Latin America and then everybody thinks, oh, this is a different reality from ours. We just watch it and it has nothing to do with us. But to have kind of a debate between the filmmakers also and the public in Bonn. So yeah, and we are trying to have certain topics highlighted. Not that we choose the topics, but for example, one year we saw that a big amount of movies was about protests. So we chose this as a central topic. Or 2 years ago, we had several topics coming up from the selection, like work and consume was one. Then we had a topic like a focus on gender identity. So it's always dependent on what people send us, like what the movies are about. But
Okay.
yeah,
As I understand, you have this kind of like a political level in your work, right?
yes.
So you are not just like I don't know, organizers, event organizers. You also like activists, more or less. And but you still like you run a cultural event, and there's like a lot of people will ask then like what is cultural and why like does it have to be always political? Who gets to decide what is culture, what is politics, and when they come together or when not? And so what I'm trying to think, because like always like in a dictatorship countries or even in countries like ruled by I don't know some kind of authorities, they always try to take this even like in the capitalist system, they try to take this political debate out of culture, and you're kind of doing the opposite, right?
I don't know. I mean, we are not commercial for sure. So you can come to the festival and give a donation, but you don't have to pay an entrance fee or something. So I think for us it is important that we are not selling something, or it's not like we want everybody to have a good time, pay for it, and go home. But also, it's not like you can only come to the festival if you have a political interest in something, because some people just want to have a nice evening, and that's also fine, you know. So that's, I think, what I see, where I see the combination. It doesn't mean that politics have to be very serious and culture is fun or something. But I think in the festival and also in other events we're trying to have fun and talk about politics at the same time, even though it's very serious topics, but you can still talk about it in a constructive way. But I think you're probably right, especially in many Latin American countries. It's also with COVID now, funding is less, like funding for cultural activities is less, and that's definitely a problem.
Okay. And what does this work mean for your local community in Bonn? Like, do you see anything? I don't know, any impact on there? Any, I don't know, change, maybe any effect that your work leave?
I hope so. I'm not very sure, because we're doing it once a year, so it's not like it's an ongoing like we don't see the community which is coming to the festival every week or something. But I do think it adds to the cultural and political scene in Bonn. So I hope that some people will come back when they went to the festival once. And actually, we get this, like people come and tell us, "I've been here the last years. I'm always looking forward to the festival." So I think some people are always coming back, and also I feel like now we are doing it for some years and we have a bit of a network. So because we are inviting speakers, also we are inviting musicians to come to the festival, and we also try to invite people from Latin America either in live or digitally. And also there we see that some people we know from the last years send a new movie, or they know people who have been in the festival in the last years. And that's always nice to see that, that there's some community growing, which is not just local in Bonn.
Yeah, now you're talking, and I'm thinking about the difference between like how to say the racism that is growing in Germany year after another, and you bringing how to say people from other places, or like cultural from other places. And as I see on your website and or like through our talk, you aiming to have like some impact. I'm saying again, like some political impact on the community, and that means like I think kind of like a change, né? Or like how to say, or like I don't want to say changing the community, but also feeding the community with something else, maybe.
Depends. I think it's different roles in this process, because we as a group, we are not, or at least we are trying not to be very active in this process. It's more like we organize the festival, but what is actually happening at the festival is not, we don't put the topics and we don't like moderate the talks. It's more like we are trying to invite filmmakers to do it themselves, because I think we are not seeing ourselves that much as the ones who are like initiating the change, or I don't know, but more like giving voice to people who are like locally maybe a bit far away, but actually they are talking about the same topics as people are talking here. So it's nice to have a discussion between two initiatives, maybe one initiative from Bonn and another initiative from, I don't know, Sao Paulo maybe. But I think for us it's very important to not show the movies in this kind of I don't know how to say exactly, exoticizing way, like because sometimes you see maybe a documentary from a different place in the world and you think like, oh, this is very far away and it's a different culture, but we are trying not to give that image. It's more like there's local initiatives and groups in Latin America, but they are very similar to certain topics we are talking about here. And they're also different in other aspects, but it's not like something exotic. And I think that's very important for us.
Okay. Okay. So you kind of your work is the international work. You like bring so many countries like together somehow, and but also you focusing on your community, your small city, right? Like small city, Bonn is not small city, but like I live in Berlin, so it's like comparing to Bonn, small. Um, but I mean, like you're focusing on the community in the city you are in, and I'm thinking uh, like how that like dynamics work. So like for like bringing something international to have it like to have a like talking about something, I don't know, maybe a dictatorship in some Southern American country, and in a small city in Germany that maybe the people who are living under that dictatorship never heard of, you know, or the people in Bonn never heard about, I don't know, a city in, I don't want to name a country, but a city in Venezuela or like in Chile or wherever, you know. How does that dynamic work?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it has certain limitations. Like you, obviously, the people that are taking part in the festival are not from the same context and have a lot of different experiences. But I think it's still possible to talk about certain topics and maybe political processes. Um, yeah, but you're right. Like it's difficult, but I think it's still working. If you like, if because the festival is not too big, you know, it's not like anonymous. So we are always trying to give a certain context also to topics maybe some people from Bonn haven't heard about yet. So we try not to just show a movie and leave the audience alone with it, but we sometimes did online interviews after or before the movie where the filmmaker could talk about the current situation and answer questions. And it's not like there's only people who have spent their whole life in Bonn and don't know anything about other places in the world. There's also people who have personal connections to certain places where the movies are maybe taking place. So I think also within the public, there's some people who can share interesting experiences and maybe give input from their side to the discussion. So that's what we are hoping, which is working. But obviously, it's not always working. But I hope that sometimes it does.
Okay, interesting. Okay, like my aim and like one of the goals that I'm working on in this whole project. I want to understand what is socioculture. So I'm trying to ask everyone I'm interviewing or hosting um, to tell me what do they think is socioculture, because I want to understand what is socioculture. So tell me, how do you define socioculture, which is socioculture?
Yeah, it's a big question. I think there's probably a lot of definitions, but I think for me personally, and probably also for us in the group, um, it has this notion that culture is not like free time activities, like going to some kind of event and this is apart from all the rest of life and you just enjoy yourself there, and then in the rest of life you have other things to do, but that like social processes and social structures are connected to cultural aspects as well. So I think it's that combination that is important, like to know that yeah, political and social and cultural aspects are always kind of connected in some way.
I do like the answer. I think it makes like a lot of sense actually. And since I asked about socioculture, I have to ask about Fonds Soziokultur also. You got this fund from Fonds Soziokultur, who are supporting this podcast as well. And um, you like what does this fund do to you, to your project? How does it help you, or if it ever helps? I don't
Yeah, it helps us a lot because it's the first funding we got not for a single project, but for a process, which is very important for us because we did this film festival organization based on, I'm missing the word, ehrenamtlich. Like nobody was being paid for the organization for the last years.
It
And
was a
it's,
voluntary work, you mean?
yes, exactly, voluntary work. Yeah. And now like we have some people having children, we have people working in different jobs in the group. So it's obviously getting harder for us to organize the festival. And also, obviously, we want to professionalize the whole thing a bit, not too much, but a bit. And now with the funding, we were able to pay someone doing the bureaucracy work for the first time, which is me now for this year. And I feel like it helps us a lot to do, all the bureaucratic things that also have to be done, which are not always very fun, but it's very important to do things right and to search for other funding. And it's difficult that for us, it's difficult to have this funding focused on projects, because that's normally how it goes, right? You get a funding for one project and then it stops, and then you have to make a new project. And I think we don't always, like for us, the film festival is working very well and we want to develop it. But then people tell us, yeah, but you have to make a new project which is innovative and new, and not the same like what you did last year. And I think that doesn't always make sense, because it's good if something is working well to develop this further. And I think this process funding of the Fonds Soziokultur really helped us a lot in that way, because it's not focused on one single event.
Tell me about like your plans for the future. How do you want to process? How do you want to go on?
We would like to have an institutional funding, like to maybe pay 1 or 2 people throughout the year to be working for the festival. Because if we get that, I think we can, the film festival can exist in the next years, and we can make some more international cooperations, because sometimes we have a lot of ideas and a big network, but sometimes we are lacking the time to organize, for example, a cooperation with another film festival, I don't know, in Santiago maybe, or wherever. So that would be very nice if we could increase these international cooperations a bit. But I feel like other than that, we are actually very happy with how the film festival is working at the moment. And I think another aim is to put the focus a bit more on the filmmakers, and maybe do some workshops with them also around the festival, not only at the festival, but throughout the whole year. Like to have a bit more of a continuous process of exchange.
My last question would be a little bit like a fantasy, maybe. If you have an option to change something, I mean, like in terms of your work, so in your group, I don't know, a mentality of the people, the fund, whatever. If you have like, you can change one thing, what would you change?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for people who work in cultural things, like people who do movies or people who organize film festivals, it would be great if they had continuous funding, and with that a bit more freedom, because I feel like that's lacking, especially in Latin America. It's very difficult to make movies and live from it. And I think that would be great. Like, you wouldn't have to get rich by making a movie or making a film festival, but it should at least be possible to have a decent life. That would be nice.
This podcast is supported by Fonds Soziokultur. The music is composed by Benjamin Berry. See you in the next episode.